I was watching the interview with Cosmic Skeptic, and it reminded me of an interview with Brett Weinstein and Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan. They drew the line between factual truth and useful lie. For example, religion. I personally believe that the Bible is factually wrong. However, I still believe that following the principles and living as a Christian will make your life better. It will make the life of your children better, and it will overall help you to solve a lot of problems that you would otherwise not solve. Jordan Peterson goes deeper into this in his lectures. Basically, the idea is that following the religious rules is a sacrifice for your future and your child's future. Thus, my question is, how do you know that even if something is not necessarily factually true, that if you abandon this idea or set of principles, you will not cause more harm than good?
Well, I actually think you and Jordan Peterson don't believe what you just said. Because what is the Jordan Peterson quote?
He paraphrased. He said basically the idea is that following the religious rules is a sacrifice for your future and your children's future.
Yeah, I don't think so, because you don't stone gay people.
Yeah, this is the thing with the Bible is that we've got this idea that to be a good Christian is the parts that have been cherry picked over thousands of years. But it's like, read the Bible. There's a lot that is required to be a good Christian. There's people on the promenade near where we live that are Jews who have to wrap every Jew.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but they have to wrap them so that the rapture can happen and all the Jews can go. Like,
yeah, but to this point of what if I throw away the tenets of Christianity, I run the risk of being immoral. And if I follow the tenets of Christianity, it's a sacrifice for a better life. Well, this isn't true. If you followed the tenets of Christianity, you'd be in jail because you would have killed someone.
Well, I'll give it the best argument. A lot of Christians say, hey, the Old Testament can essentially be thrown out because Christ came and gave us a new pact. And the Old Testament is where a lot of the stuff is. But the greater point is
are you having sex before marriage?
Yes. Yeah. If
you're having sex before marriage, then you're going to hell. Like,
you have layered on top of the Bible a filter, undoubtedly. Like, you do not live, no one, except for perhaps the Westboro Baptist Church, is looking at this for like literal every word counts and we need to treat them all evenly. So when you say that the principles of being a good Christian, I would argue that you did not derive those from the Bible. While some of them may be echoed and contained in the Bible, they are in interaction with your filter as to what you find acceptable in the Bible, and there are good things in there. But if you were an alien and you had no idea of what was right and wrong, and you had the Bible as your only text through which to live a good life, I think you'd be in deep, deep doo-doo. But if you take what has been distilled down over time and is like, turn the other cheek, these are all in the Bible, and they're all solid ways to live, and I think your life is going to be better for it. But I think it's a mistake to say that these generate from the Bible. The Bible's, it's almost like an encyclopedia of different ways to live and things to do and how to handle shellfish and all that kind of stuff. So was there another question about Jordan Peterson and throwing it out? I guess what I'm saying is it's tough for me to arrive at the same conclusion of the question because I disagree on the premise, which is that the Bible is telling you how to live. I actually don't think it is. I think you're bringing your own morality to the Bible and looking at and exempting everything that doesn't fit that and saying this isn't what being a good Christian is. It's like it's actually your own morality that is making the Bible such a beacon of positivity.
Yeah, that's my high level answer. So the question is, how do I be a good person if I'm not following the Bible? And my answer is, you're already being a good person
and not following the Bible. Yeah.
If you were to literally follow the Bible, even the New Testament, if your neighbor were to do that, I think you would not deem them a good person.
And the question is, have you read it cover to cover? Because if not, how could you possibly be following it? You're only following the summary that is, and what the important pieces of the Bible, by the way, throughout history have changed. Like, at one point it was very important to handle apostates a certain way and to have crusades a certain way. And these were all justified in the Bible. And depending on whether you're Protestant or Catholic, Peter was the rock on which it's built. So the Pope has divine power. Or if you're Protestant, that part of the Bible doesn't really count. So yeah, the other thing, I think I've mentioned it. I talked on the podcast about the lessons of the Bible and how I disagree with Jordan Peterson's charitable interpretations of many.
No, I don't think you've talked about that.
So I don't know if I've talked about it. I'd love to ask him this question. I think I have said it once. Justin's probably heard it. When I read Genesis for the first time, one of the things that I took from it is like, you get eventually to Cain and Abel and you say, oh, wow, the first murderer ever, according to the Bible, is Cain. And everybody knows that who has read the Bible. But the question is, who is the first liar in the history of the universe. And if you read the first 10 to 12 pages, you will see it is God. God says, if you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will surely die this day. And he makes it clear in his sort of inner soliloquy, inner monologue that he has, that he's like, oh no, they've eaten from it even though I told them not to. If they eat from the tree of power, they will surely become like me. So what I take from that as I read it is like, and the snake, by the way, the devil is the one who says, that's not true. If you eat from it, you will become as God. You will get the knowledge of good and evil. You will have morality that is separate from this person who is dictating it to you. And you will decide, for instance, that you don't want to run around naked and have him peeping Tom you. And so when I read this, it's like really tough for me not to see like God is this authoritarian, blindfolding, manipulative liar figure. And it almost in that first few pages says, don't trust this entire book. We're going to tell you that the devil is the snake, but the snake told you the truth, and if the truth is good, it wasn't coming from God. He tried to hide it from you because he wanted control over you. And then when you acted out against him, he cursed women and with pain, and he said all these rules, and he cast down the devil who you're going to be the lowest of animals because you told him the truth. And he gave men all of these hardships. And it's right there at the beginning. And I don't know how you view that and go like, this is the guy that I need to have on my side looking out for me, and I need to serve him as anything other than a cruel master. So when I read it metaphorically, that's what I get. And I'd love to, it seems like when Sam Harris brings this point out, he talks about the way that Jordan Peterson reads the Bible. If you were to read a cookbook and you say there are 3 eggs, oh, that's the Trinity of purity. And, he does all of this. And he says, if you're willing to bring that level of intense analysis and your own filter on top of it, you can find value in cookbooks that give really good life advice. But the question is, was the life advice in the cookbook and the 3 eggs, and that's the 3 parts of goodness, or was the value something that you brought to it? So I think that Sam Harris has the right of it there. I think that
you wrote a college paper on that, right?
Yeah, not really. I wrote a college paper on Gilgamesh and how similar, like if you look at Horus and Gilgamesh and the beginning of, and Jesus in those cases, how they're the same myth sort of.
Yeah. I remember when you ran me through this. I was a theist. I remember when you ran me through this. You're like, guess who the first liar in the Bible is? It's like, I don't know, Cain. Like, nope. God.
You read it, man.
Blew my mind.
You can read it for yourself. It won't take a lot of time.
No, I knew this.
It'll take 7 minutes.
Dude, here's the thing. I knew the story, but I was told the story as a child.
Yeah.
So I was told who the good guys and the bad guys were, and I was 5.
And then we argue over who's bad. Was it Adam or Eve? Well, Eve told him to eat it, but Adam decided to. It's like, it was truth.
Yeah.
Eve pointed Adam towards truth. He got the truth. They decided that, hey, this naked thing where you look at us all day is kind of messed up. I don't want you doing that anymore. And God's like, ugh.
No, I remember when you told me it. It blew my mind because I'd never questioned it for the first 19 years of my life.
And there's another tree, which is the tree of power. And if they eat that, not only will they have knowledge, they will have power. They will become like me. I cannot have that. Jesus. It's like, what an abusive relationship. And why does he get to do it? Because he created you. I mean, can you imagine if your parents who created you came around and said, look, they lied to you your whole life. You find the truth. You're finally starting to get empowered. And then they kick you out of the house and damn you and curse you. And then the only solution is to pray to them, asking their forgiveness all the time because you are born into sin. It's just so screwy to me. Anyways, I know that we have a lot of religious listeners, and I know that it probably find it this way. I don't mean to insult anyone personally, but this story is to me so mean in so many ways. And if you take the positive pieces of this very thick book and you live a good life and you think it comes from the book, fine, but I would actually give you more credit. I think that those positive pieces come from you, and the book is very mixed. So yeah. Anything else?
No, I already said my piece.
All right.
Well, the question was actually...
Sorry, I got off of it.
Yeah, the question was basically, how do you know when self-deception is useful or not? We kind of talked about it in a different podcast.
So self-deception is Very useful. It's often, I mean, how do you know when it's useful? I don't know that that's the right question. Like, it's useful all the time. It's useful to treat every gun as if it's loaded. It's useful to treat every sexual partner as if they have, I guess not AIDS, but like an STD that you do not want to get. It's useful to, there's many useful things, but that presumes that here's the problem, that you know the goal and the best course of action. And the promise of truth is that, look, this might not be useful to your purposes, but it is the case. And so even though you might not survive best, even though you might not get what you want, this is the case.
Well, self-deception is also a double-edged sword, and I've seen this. So you might think to yourself, oh yeah, well, I can think of times when self-deception helps me. But what you don't see are the times that it really hurts you. It's easy to see in other people when someone is in a physically abusive relationship, but they go, no, he loves me and he'll change. And that was a one-time thing, and whatever the self-deception is that keeps them in the relationship. But what you don't see is all the ways that you're doing it yourself, and your own life is worse for the lies you tell yourself. So that's the thing. It's easy to go, yeah, well, if you act like the gun is always loaded, then you'll be careful. But if you have a policy of self-deception, you won't catch all the self-deceptions. And actually the most dangerous ones are the ones where you don't know that you're lying to yourself. And so you will have things you lie to yourself about that make your life worse and that harm you. Versus if you strive to, and none of us do it, we all have self-deception, but if you strive to root them out and have as few as possible, I believe that what you lose with losing the fact that every gun is loaded, you more than gain, that you net out to be better off with no self-deception, because you can still have a responsible gun policy, which is I'm just not going to point guns at other people, loaded or otherwise. I don't need to pretend they're loaded. I just know sometimes they're loaded and I don't know it. So I never point them at other people. Okay. And then on the flip side, you've removed the self-deception that keeps you at the job you hate, in the abusive relationship, whatever it might be. And I just think that it's really hard, borderline impossible to remove the harmful self-deceptions and keep the good ones. I think you have to just try to root them all out and then trust yourself to know a gun might not be loaded, but still not pointing at people because it might be loaded.
Yeah. I mean, we tell, kids, we say, everything is heuristic. Don't talk to strangers. Like, why do we tell them that? There's an implicit, like, strangers are bad. It's like, no, but they could be. Like, always look both ways before crossing the road. Even when it's nighttime and I don't see headlights, do I have to? We live by these heuristics because they keep us alive. And we ingrain, those ones don't necessarily have truth claims about the world, but they are implicit in that it is dangerous if you cross the street without always looking both ways. But the bigger one, and that you're saying, is this is where you get really metaphysical, is that sort of what you're saying is like, you'll be better off. But the truth doesn't necessarily make that promise. Like, as long as you are committed to your vision of what is good for you, you create space for self-deception. And I have this and everybody has this. But as long as you think like, look, it's best for me to like keep making money and have this job, or it's like, it's best for me to like be protected and stay in my group of friends, or it's best for me to view myself as an ego and a separate entity for the rest of the world, and to realize that I was really one with everything would be ego death and whatever. Then I would die because I wouldn't feed myself. As long as you have that, you create space for self-deception. So yeah, we all have it. You're not going to get rid of it, but probably, to Ben's point, if you lean off of it, you'll actually see that things get much better. And I truly believe that, at least in the medium term, like if people had less self-deception in their lives, things get much better. But there's probably a point at which you realize that your ego is an illusion and you just stop eating and then you die. And you could say that things are now worse off for that body. But I guess then your spirit goes into the, I don't know what happens at that point. I'm just making it up. Cool.
Yeah. I also think that there's I mean, like I said with the gun example, I just think that the idea that you need to deceive yourself in order to be moral, have gun safety, whatever the example is, I just don't buy. I actually think you can get to the same result without the deception.
Well, sorry, let's just come back. I just want to make sure that I answered it. What was the final question?
The final question was, so my question is, how do you know that even if something is not necessarily factually true, that if you abandon this idea or set of principles, you will not cause more harm than good?
So yes. implicit in your idea of harm and good are truth claims about the world. That harm is when people scream and cry, and good is when they say they feel good, and dying is bad, and living bountifully is good. So if you go to like the root bottom of this question, it's that you don't know any of those things. You know what I mean? You might be deceiving yourself for all of those things. So if you were to truly ask questions about all of that, you might just totally redefine harm and good. But I think that that's beyond the level at which you're asking. The short answer is most of the time when you let go of self-deception, even in the world as we view it with the values that we have, it will help you. That's just my life experience. You could take it from me or not. I don't have a great answer. I've seen it be the case.
Yeah, anecdotally, I mean, the people I see who, the self-deceptions that they have, that they don't know they have, are keeping them in bad relationships, they are stunting their growth in business, stunting their career success, like even forgetting the enlightenment thing. In the physical world, their results are worse. And when they release their self-deception, that's when they get into a better relationship, leave the shitty one, are able to finally be a successful entrepreneur because they were able to acknowledge their flaws and work on them.
Yeah.
And their self-deception was making them think they were already good at business. So now their business sucks, but when they see the self-deception, they know what they need to train, and now, bam, they're making more money. So just in terms of what most people define as physical results, health, wealth, relationships, all of the anecdotal evidence
it's always
I have,
better when you release self-deception.
no one I know is more financially successful or in a better relationship because of their lies to themselves.
Well, so, and what always, in all of those cases though, there's a dip. Things get worse. That's why the self-deception's there. It's to protect you from that dip where you go from thinking you're a great entrepreneur, selling how to be really good at entrepreneurship, and then you go, oh shit, I'm not that good. I shouldn't be selling this. I have to learn how to be good. Now I'm not making as much money. But in that time, I've learned how to be really good. I come out the other side and I'm better for it. One example that we haven't had to deal with, fortunately, we've talked about religious communities, is like, look, let's say that you're in a religious community and you're teetering on the edge of falling out of faith.
I do have an example of this. The only person I know who's left the Mormon church is really happy they did it. Now, I'm not saying that that's a guarantee. This is what I'm saying. I have anecdotal experience of people realizing self-deception. Only one of them was in a extremely tight religious community. But I've asked him, and he said he's really grateful that he stopped self-deceiving himself and has left that community.
And what's interesting is that
that doesn't mean it's not guaranteed. That's what I'm saying. But I actually do know someone that's had that, and they're pretty hyped that they're not in the.
Didn't he say that his wife, who is now, he's now not, because it was an arranged marriage, had the same realizations as him, but then came to the conclusion, it's like, look, I'm just going to join this and play along because
she likes the community aspect. Yeah, but
community.
she's not keeping. It's kind of like the gun safety thing. She doesn't have the belief that the community is wholly right in their religious beliefs, but just chooses to live in it because she prefers it.
Yeah. So the curse of knowledge, which for her, she might go, I wish I didn't know. But she's like, whatever. I could
she
just
kept
pretend.
her friends. That's what I'm saying. She kept her friends. She kept her family.
Yeah.
She's going to get remarried to someone in the Mormon community.
Yeah.
And he left.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.